I call myself a trans-traditionalist because my personal spirituality transcends any one tradition and is informed by many traditions. I was raised Christian in a family where music and love and church and God were all tied up in the same bundle. When I was 15, I was introduced to the Baha'i faith, and I also began learning about Taoism. Then, when I was 16, I got kicked out of Sunday school for asking too many questions. So I have been a seeker of a spiritual space that's large enough to hold my questions all my life. My spiritual values today have been shaped and informed by many traditions. So how does that work? I'm a minister ordained by the Presbyterian Church. I am a card-carrying Baha'i. I am a student of Taoism. I am active in a Unitarian Universalist community. I worship with Quakers. I bring in the Sabbath with Jews. My brothers and their families are Muslim. And it all works for me. I love being with true believers who never stop asking questions, who dance with their differences, who revel in the intersectionalities of their beliefs. I have always been comfortable with ambiguity and able to hold apparently conflicting ideas in the same vessel. That comfort is key in the work that I do. I note similarities in belief systems and doctrines, and I learn from the differences. I don't have to believe what you believe to appreciate who you are. I find the intersectionalities interesting, and I am fascinated by the questions and the contradictions. Today in our service, as many are observing Ramadan, we are exploring some of the intersectionalities of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, all of which are branches of the same tree. You will hear in Reverend Jeremiah's sermon and the special Jewish Sufi Muslim music offered by Maqam Shekinah, both questions and answers. So come rest in the questions, the answers, the intersections, and the ambiguities. Come worship with us.
Good morning and Ramadan Mubarak. It is so good to be with you. Our chalice lighting this morning is lit in honor of the Islamic month of Ramadan. If you have a chalice at home, you are invited to light it at this time. I share these words of the Islamic Saint Hafiz which can be found in the back of our Singing the Living Tradition hymnal. Cloak yourself in 1,000 ways, still I shall know you, my beloved. Veil yourself with every enchantment, and yet I shall feel you. Presence most dear, close and intimate. I salute you in the springing of cypresses, and in the sheen of lakes, the laughter of fountains. I shall surely see you in tumbling clouds, in brightly embroidered meadows. O beloved presence more beautiful than all the stars together, I trace your face in ivy that climbs, in clusters of grapes, in morning flaming the mountain, in the clear arc of sky. You gladden the whole earth and make every heart great. You are the breathing of the world.
La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, 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 illallah. Hine mato, hine mato, behold how good this is, behold how good this is. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. Hine mato, hine mato, behold how good this is, behold how good this is. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. Hine mato, hine mato, behold how good this is, behold how good this is. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. Hine mato, hine mato, behold how good this is, behold how good this is. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. Hine mato, hine mato, behold how good this is, behold
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Santa Monica. I am Kikanza Nuri Robbins, your worship associate. The Reverend Jeremiah Kalendae, who serves this congregation as its developmental minister, is preaching today. And our very talented worship team and special guest musicians are delighted to provide this online sanctuary for you this morning. Now, you may watch us on our Facebook group page. You may also find us on YouTube. However you join us, we are glad that you are here. Unitarian Universalism is not defined by creed or dogma, but is guided by principles that affirm the worth and dignity of every person and encourage an individual search for truth and meaning. We honor the wonder of existence and believe that we are all connected to each other and to the interdependent web of life. Our beliefs are drawn from scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience, and ancient tradition. We are an open, affirming, and welcoming congregation. We are diverse in backgrounds, social locations, gender identities, ethnicities, sexual orientations, spiritualities, and philosophies of life. We are united in our desire to create a diverse, beloved community, to live the principles of our faith, and to serve the wider world. We acknowledge that our church building and the homes of most of our members are on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Tongva people. They lived here and cared for this land for thousands of years. We recognize and mourn the great harm that was inflicted on the indigenous people of this country, and we lift up their grace, their resilience, and relationship with these sacred lands. We welcome all of you who worship with us from Santa Monica across the country to the Atlantic Ocean. Whether this is your first time with us or you have worshiped here all your life, you are welcome here this morning.
Good morning. This is Norm Ritchie. I'm a board member at large, and I'm also co-chair of membership committee. I was thinking of the phrase, stewardship is everyone's business, as I was considering our pledge. Our pledge in and of itself would not go far in meeting the financial needs of our church community. If it was just our pledge alone, we would not have our wonderful minister, our excellent music director, or section leaders. We would not have our creative DRE or our superb administrative staff. In short, we would not have UUSM or our loving church community. It is not until our pledge, combined with the pledges of other members, that we are able to have UUSM, our minister, wonderful staff, and church community. So to have the church and programs we want and love, stewardship is everyone's business. We are all in this together.
Our service is streamed on both Facebook and YouTube. So if you encounter any technological glitches on one, you can switch over quickly to the other one. After we worship, we are live on Zoom, and we will list in the screen the link in order for you to get to the Zoom room. So come to the Zoom coffee hour. There will be small groups for visitors. There'll be an opportunity for you to speak more deeply about the sermon. There are also some committee meetings that you might join, and you can just sit and chat with the folks who sit in the main room. We welcome you there. Invite you to check the UUSM webpage because there are many opportunities for connecting and growing with our community. There are a couple of things that I'd like to lift up. Number one is leadership training that's going to be offered starting the last Wednesday in April. It will be 3 90-minute lessons on leadership, and everyone is welcome. We need you to register with Terry in religious education. And the leader of this training is going to be me. So I look forward to seeing you there. On May 1st, Saturday, May 1st, 1 o'clock, we are gathering as community and people who loved the Reverend Dr. Ernie Pipes. We will be celebrating his life through a Zoom worship service. Dining for Dollars. Remember Dining for Dollars? Dining for Dollars is back, and bidding for the many things that will be offered through our major fundraiser will take place on Sunday, May 16th and May 23rd. Now, before that, there are opportunities for you to contribute something that will be auctioned off. So think of a Zoom-friendly event that you might host, and then contact the committee at auction@uusm.org. auction@uusm.org. And if you'd like a little more information about Dining for Dollars, come to the Zoom coffee hour, and one of the small groups will be the auction committee, and you can ask them questions.
Hi everyone, it's Sonder, your Director of Music. I would like to invite all of you to Rising Green, the choir's Earth Day concert, focusing on pieces that are about our home, this earth, and climate justice. It will be streaming on our YouTube and Facebook pages this Friday, April 23 at 7:30 p.m. Again, come to Rising Green, enjoy some great readings, some great music. I hope to see you this Friday, 7:30, on our YouTube and Facebook pages.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of evil. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of evil. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come yet again, come yet again,
El amor es la enseñanza de esta iglesia.
Love is the doctrine of this church.
Buscar la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es la oración.
The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer.
Vivir juntos en paz.
To dwell together in peace.
Buscar el conocimiento en la libertad.
To seek knowledge in freedom.
Servir a la humanidad en comunión.
To serve humankind in fellowship.
Así es como convenimos unos a otros.
Thus do we covenant with each other.
We're invited into our contemplative time for centering, mindfulness, prayer, meditation. I'll offer one of my favorite prayers, which I do on occasion, the prayer of light of the Prophet Muhammad. May he and his family abide in serenity. Instead of following the prayer with silence for meditation this morning, it will be followed by a musical meditation on a recitation of a chapter, a surah of the Quran. Contemplation of even just the sound of the Quran is a spiritual discipline in Islamic tradition because it is believed that it is an opportunity to hear and meditate on the very sound of God. But first, let us begin with the prayer of light. You are invited to imagine light entering your being with each verse of the prayer. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of the infinitely compassionate, in the name of the tenderly merciful. O Allah, place light in my heart, and on my tongue light, and in my ears light, and in my sight light, above me light, below me light, to my right light, and to my left light, and before me light, and behind me light. Place in my soul light, magnify for me light, and amplify for me light. Make for me light, and make me light. O Allah, grant me light, and place light in my nerves, and in my body light, and in my blood light, and in my hair light, and in my skin light. O Allah, make for me a light in my grave, and a light in my bones. Increase me in light, increase me in light, increase me in light. Grant me light upon light. Amen.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنحر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث.
Ramadan could not arrive soon enough this year. All year, I wait for the month of spaciousness, the month of fasting, the month of community, the month of drawing near to the beloved one. This year, my eagerness was intensified by the relentlessness of the last 12 months. Black men being murdered in this country with impunity by the police for all the world to see. A toxic political atmosphere that further polarized our society. Prophetic uprisings for Black lives and to stop Asian hate. A white supremacist insurrection at our nation's capital that attempted to overthrow our democracy. A global pandemic that has ravaged our physical, social, and emotional lives and claimed the lives of nearly 3 million people globally and almost 600,000 people in this nation already. We have only begun to grasp or grieve the enormity of this loss. Families, relationships, and friendships have all been under nearly constant pressure. We've had to adapt to a rate of change that is unlike anything we've ever experienced before. The consequences of this past year will outlive the pandemic itself as the trauma of the experience continues to reverberate through time and possibly reshapes our society in new ways. This is a good time for all of us to check in with mental health professionals and to formulate long-term plans for wellness and support as the pandemic slowly nears an end. One thing I hear time and time again from the members of this community is how important it has been to have a religious community with which to face such uncertainty, instability, fear, bigotry, and hatred. Members tell me that the church has been a bedrock of support and a balm for their aching spirits, a place where all can gather and be embraced by a spirit of love that eases torments and helps hold us in the struggle. Members tell me that in the last year, they've begun to really understand what it means for a congregation to not just be a community of like-minded individuals of liberal faith, but to be a beloved community, a community bound together by its common struggles and its striving to realize its aspirations, a beloved community knit together by the miraculous power of love. Ramadan is a month of beloved community in Islam. In this tradition, it's taught that this is the month that all of the sacred scriptures of the world's religions were revealed to the 124,000 prophets that are believed to have been sent to humanity as messengers and guides and sages. Although the revelation of the Holy Quran, or the divine recitation, is especially celebrated as the last of these divine communications during this month for Muslims, it's also believed that Moses received the Torah, Jesus received the Gospels, David received the Psalms, and the 123,996 other prophets and spiritual leaders received their divine revelations. And may they all abide in peace. All of this is believed to have happened during this one very special lunar month that moves throughout the year. So we could speculate that this includes the Dharma of the Buddha, the Vedas of the Hindu Rishis, revelatory wisdom of indigenous and earth-based communities, and perhaps even revelatory humanistic and scientific discoveries. This month is special because it's dedicated to community and divine intercession through inspired spiritual and ethical leaders that help to guide and warn and nurture humanity in its own evolution across time. The month of Ramadan is preceded by a month dedicated to Allah, and then a month dedicated to the Prophet Muhammad's serenity and blessings upon him and his family. But Ramadan is dedicated to beloved community. You'll notice that I use Ramazan, which is the Persian form of the word, used in the cultural context of my multi-religious and multicultural Islamic community, and Ramadan, which is the Arabic form of the word. There are also a few other similar variations in other cultural contexts. Whatever we call it, though, this month is a time to celebrate community and to struggle for our own betterment as a people. Ramadan is filled with so many important memories and pivotal moments in my own spiritual journey. It was 7 years ago that I made a pilgrimage to Istanbul, Turkey, to be with my spiritual friend and teacher Ibrahim Baba and our larger dervish community, to be received into Islam and the Sufi mystical path. I entered into an ancient lineage of teachers and Sufi practitioners that stretches all the way back to the first revelations of Islam over 1400 years ago. Sufism is the mystical path of Islam, or the esoteric teachings that deal with what we Unitarian Universalists might call the transcending mystery and wonder, which calls us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Now, Sufism is really about practices that cultivate encounter with the unmediated presence of God. Sufism is about losing oneself in the love of Allah Azza wa Jal, the mighty and the majestic, and then living through that love. Islam concerns itself with the ethics of life and the practices that help to keep one's life on a good path, but Sufism is concerned with taqwa, or God consciousness, and the indwelling presence of the divine within each person. In my Chishti Sufi tradition, we believe that we achieve such exalted states of God consciousness, of taqwa, through music and dance and prayer and service to the poor and the oppressed. Ramadan, in my lineage, is about fasting so that we can be open to those forces which create and uphold life, and open to spirit, and so that we can know what it's like not to have enough to eat or to have clean water to drink. Pir Ibrahim Baba, my own sheikh, had written, "O lovers of love, come let us swim in the waters of the beautiful ocean of love, which is the sacred month of Ramadan. Come, let us embrace the fast with joy and gladness. Come, let us empty ourselves, so that we might experience the pain of others as our own, the joys of others as our own. Come, let us be filled with the dazzling, brilliant, and radiant luminous darkness, shining more brilliantly than 10 million suns, the radiant Nur, the light of the Quranic Kareem, which descends into the very cave of the heart, into the very center of our being, which feeds us better than any food can." So it's taught that we have to empty ourselves and enter the pain and the joy of others and the luminous darkness to be nurtured in that cave of our hearts by divine love. Now, when most people in our Unitarian Universalist communities think of Sufis, they think of the whirling dervishes draped in their white robes, twirling in ecstatic abandon. This is the Sema ceremony, which is a part of many Sufi orders, but originated with the spiritual practices of the Mevlana, the master of love, Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi. Tradition holds that one day he heard gold being fashioned by goldsmiths, and he entered into a mystical state and began to hear the Islamic declaration of faith, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but God, or there is nothing outside of the divine unity, or there is nothing but God. And he began to whirl with unbounded joy as he felt divinity reverberating in everything around him and most intimately within himself. Whirling today is one of the ways that we dervishes commune with Allah Azza wa Jal, or that ground of all relating. I've taught whirling at our UUA General Assembly in years past, and I hope to teach it again in our sanctuary when it's safe for us to whirl together. Now, I wanted to share a little bit more about this spiritual practice and invite you to try it at home if you're able and so inspired and have the space to do so safely this Ramadan. Now, the importance of the symbolism of the dress is important to note as we begin this spiritual practice a little bit, as we begin exploring the spiritual practice a little bit more deeply. If you've seen whirling dervishes, they are likely wearing these tall white hats and long flowing white robes. Now, surprising to many, the hats allude to Islamic tombstones, and the flowing white robes allude to the white burial shrouds of the Islamic tradition. So we begin the journey of whirling by putting the tombstone over our egos, over our sense of a separate or special self, and cloaking our bodies as though we are being prepared for the grave to depart from this world. Now, I won't go into all of the technical details about whirling, but we begin by standing with our feet together and our hands folded over our hearts and our heads bowed to our hearts. We begin by meditating on the declaration of faith, La ilaha illallah, or on a divine name or a refrain of the sacred music that's played during the ceremony, or a verse of the Quran. For example, we might interiorize the verse of light in the Quran, or the verses of light, which read, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. The example of the divine light is like a niche in which there is a lamp. The lamp is within glass, the glass as if it were a pearly white star, lit from the oil of a blessed olive tree, neither the east nor the west, whose oil would almost glow as if untouched by fire, light upon light. As mystics, we would meditate on the sublime light of Allah that pervades all things, and imagine the cave of our hearts to be the niche in which there is the lamp. The Islamic scholar Sayyid Lari reflects, if a person wants to travel a certain distance in pitch darkness, they must first procure a lamp so that they can illuminate the path ahead. And through the aid of the light, they may not lose their way and thus reach their destination safely. It would be insensible and ill-advised to set off on a journey in total darkness and travel across hills and valleys and still consider oneself needless of a light by which to illumine the way. In order to travel on the path of truth and to avoid the ignorance of our hearts and our minds, and to be finally protected from going astray, one needs another light, and that is the guidance that illuminates the path of useful thought and discovering the truth. So we begin with our hands folded over our hearts and our heads bowed as we dwell in this inner illumination. With one foot remaining in place, the other begins to slowly spin us counterclockwise as we enter into a deeper contemplation of the light radiating within and the declaration of the oneness of all things that so move the Mevlana Rumi to states of extraordinary ecstasy. We begin to spin like the earth, the sun, and the moon, or revolve like the electrons that circle about the nucleus of an atom, or pilgrims around the black stone Kaaba of Makkah. As we begin to turn, we enter into the cosmic dance of all of nature as it spins in its orbit. Slowly, we offer our right hand to the sky in a receptive position, so as to receive the grace as we whirl, and our left hand turns to the earth to give away the blessings that we receive. In this movement into unity with reality through this exercise, the dervish becomes a liminal space between heaven and earth, between the divine and the mundane, a conduit for the bliss of divine love to flow. After whirling into this ecstasy of oneness, we slowly return to where we began in the stillness, bowing to our heart, remembering the divine words, "Neither my earth nor my heavens could contain me, but I am contained within the heart." Now maybe you'll try whirling like us dervishes this Ramadan. Or perhaps you might consider ways to fast from routines or negativities or things to create space for something new in your life. Thank you for journeying with me this Ramadan to the cave of the heart. May you find all that you seek in that sanctuary of your being. Amen. And blessed be Ramadan Mubarak.
We are a community that works for more than ourselves. Our practice here at UUSM is to dedicate half of our Sunday offerings to organizations that are doing work in the world that resonates with our Unitarian principles. The other 50% of the offering is used to support the life of the church. The Unitarian Universalist Ministry for Earth is the recipient of our generous congregation funds this month. So Unitarian Universalist Ministry for Earth aims to be a wellspring of spiritual and educational grounding and practical support for bold, accountable action for environmental justice, climate justice, and the flourishing of all life. They have a variety of programs, tools, and actions for everyone from youth through elders to help avert climate chaos, which, following the core spiritual practice of Unitarian Universalism. Climate change is happening and it's human caused. This will affect almost every area of life, including the economy and our health. Whether it's the cost of damage from extreme weather or the number of hospitalizations from asthma, issues rising from climate change are only getting worse. Your gift to the Unitarian Universalist Ministry for Earth will help to make it better. We also encourage you to give to the general fund for our church. The pledge drive ends this month, and we encourage you to participate in the pledge drive by increasing your pledge perhaps. We're not worshiping in our building yet, nor can any of the rooms on our campus be used by the many groups that have met there for years. So if you are able, and we know that some of you are not, please give and give generously. There are 3 ways to give: over text, through our website, or by mailing a check. You can use your smartphone and text the number 844-982-0209 with the donation amount and the code where you want the funds posted. To make a generous congregation contribution, use the code GCC. Or use the QR code that you can see on your screen, and that will take you to our website where you can make a one-time donation or set up recurring payments for your pledge or another purpose. However you give, we thank you. We thank you for your generous support. That's it. I'm done. Whoops.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'iraravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'iraravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'iraravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'iraravi. Bismillah You flow each moment so sublime. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You cycle forth the seasons. Ma'ariva Ravi. You who give life reason. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You roll the dark and spill the light. Ma'ariva Ravi. You shine the day and soft the night. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. 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 Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You open up the gates of time. Ma'ariva Ravi. You flow each moment so sublime. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You cycle forth the seasons. Ma'ariva Ravi. You give life reason. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You roll the dark and spill the light. Ma'ariva Ravi. You shine the day and soft the night. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. 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 Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You open up the gates of time. Ma'ariva Ravi. You flow each moment so sublime. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You cycle forth the seasons. Ma'ariva Ravi. You give life reason. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You roll the dark and spill the light. Ma'ariva Ravi. You shine the day and soft the night. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ma'ariva Ravi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Our faith is but a single gem upon a rosary of beads, the thread of truth which runs through them supports our varied human needs. Confusion, wisdom, Christian care, the Buddhist way of self-control, the Muslim's daily call to prayer are proven pathways to the goal. From many lips in every age, the truth eternal is proclaimed by Western saint and Eastern sage, and all the good, however named.
The words for our benediction this morning are adapted from the Islamic Saint Jami. If love manifests within you, it has its origin in beauty. You are nothing but a mirror in which beauty is reflected. May you dwell in beauty and give birth to love anew, light upon light. Go forth and be blessed and be a blessing.